What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel. Check out the content. And with that being said, man, um, like I want to talk about LeBron James and the things that what's going on with LeBron James as far as like the power and the control that LeBron James is losing throughout his with like his career coming to an end. Throughout his career, LeBron James has been in a position where he can basically just demand certain things, demand to get paid a certain amount. Like LeBron James he's always been able to get the money that he wanted. And so this year for LeBron James is a lot different than the rest of his career. I think they said that like over the last 10 years, LeBron James has averaged around $30 million per year, getting paid. And so this year, LeBron James was due to get over 50 million. But because LeBron James he's not the player that he was, a few years back. And he don't have the leverage that he had a few years back. And LeBron James is going to take a massive pay cut. And teams know that he don't have leverage like he used to. And so now they're trying to like whoever get LeBron James this year wants to be able to cash in on his popularity. And so they'll be able to make a lot of money off of LeBron James while not paying him a lot of money. And that away, and so that profit margin this year is or whoever get LeBron James is going to be massive. Some people say that, he could take like a $40 million pay cut, which is crazy and something that LeBron James is probably not really happy about. And so Scat on his podcast spoke about this, right? And so what I want to do is I want to play the audio from what Scat said about LeBron James not having a lot of leverage and basically having to take a massive pay cut. And so here we go with Scat, and I'm gonna come back and give some more of my input.
Compete, which is power. Well, I look at this more as a case of lack of leverage for LeBron James. Remember, this is a guy who made $52 million just last season. A guy that has been over $30 million annually every season for the last decade. Yeah, that guy right now is oiling himself up on his knees and begging contending teams to take him onto their roster for anywhere between the veteran minimum or the mid-level exception. Now, in case you guys do not know or are wondering, the mid-level exception for LeBron James would be $6.1 million, while the vet minimum would be $3.9 million. And look, that is quite a haircut for a guy who has been spray painting his hair on for the better part of 15 years. $48 million, a $48 million cut in pay is wild. And look, this ain't Victor Wembanyama taking $50 million less on his current contract to help build a winner. It wasn't Jalen Brunson who took a $115 million pay cut to build up that New York Knicks roster, which ultimately won the NBA championship last season. This ain't that. This is, again, LeBron James being valued at anywhere between $4 to $6 million right now.
That is crazy. That's crazy. But I do have a question though, because when you think about Michael Jordan, like Michael Jordan didn't really get his paydays until he didn't really get like his big paydays until like the last 2 years of his contract. And I think each one of those years he got like around $30 million, right, for each one of those his last 2 years in Chicago. And so now people could say, which I thought was a better business strategy for Michael Jordan, because he he built his legacy was so strong that even to this very day, Michael Jordan can cash in on his legacy, and he's still reaping the residuals of his hard work, right? And so that is what, like, and LeBron James got his money up front, whereas though Michael Jordan now is still getting, he's getting his money on the back end, right? And so My question to you is, which would you rather you prefer? Would you like to get your money on the back end like what Mike is getting now, or would you prefer to have been like LeBron James? Like Scat just said, for the last 10 years, LeBron James has averaged over $30 million. Then last year he got $50 million, and he was due to get 50 this year, but he didn't get it right. So I'm thinking, like if it was me, I think it seems to make better business sense, especially for somebody of the stature of a LeBron James, to get your money on the back end. Not saying that don't get what you can get. Why But that should not have been his main priority, and that's where I think LeBron James messed up. Right. I think that, yeah, and like certain players are in a position where they can do that. Like I said, Tom Brady and Michael Jordan, they can afford to get their money on the back end because of they can basically during their career live off of their endorsements. Like those are the big paycheck. Those are big paychecks coming from your endorsements. But if you focus on getting your money now and not focus on like being the best basketball player that then you better do what LeBron James did and just get your money up front, because you're not really worried about building your legacy to the point where so you can always tap into that. Um, you can tap into that fan base, and so that's what I think the strategy for LeBron James, and was to don't even worry about the fan base. But I think he's going to come to regret that, right? Because it's all those he don't have as much leverage, and he don't have that fan base that Michael Jordan had, right? And so he won't be able to tap into that fan base after his career is over with. Once he separates from the NBA, he can't tap into that fan base the way Michael Jordan can. And people know that that's true because like when the NBA announced that Michael Jordan was, or NBC announced that they were going to do some interviews with Michael Jordan, he was, you know, that was a big boost in rating. There was so much excitement about the fact that Mike was coming back, and the network knew that they were going to get so many people watching, and that was going to be a boost to the network. LeBron James, because he didn't establish that type of relationship with the fan base, he may not have the same type of interest that Michael Jordan had. And then even for example, another example, when you talk about selling merchandise and stuff like that, right? Mike still, Mike, two generations of, like, you had the Kobe generation come right after Mike, and then you had the LeBron James generation came after that. And Mike is still selling tennis shoes and sneakers at a higher clip than the two generations that came after him. So Mike put that work in, and he's still reaping the benefits of that work to this very day. Whereas though LeBron James is more so about getting paid, uh, at that time. And I don't think, I think in the long run, because of who LeBron James is, man, I think in the long run it's going to hurt him.
Now, don't get me wrong. A guy who can get you 27-7 for between $4 and $6 million is still quite the deal, and it is quite the bargain. And yes, getting a guy at that level who, albeit will loaf around and detract on the defensive side of things for you, is still very advantageous for many teams, which is why several teams are in on LeBron James for $3.9 million. But this is a guy who, for years, has made money the main thing, who wanted to be paid like the king, who thinks that how much money he is making is a direct commentary on his value and, to Perkins' point, his power throughout the NBA. So the fact that he is now willing to take $3-some million a year, well, of course, that is going to entice several teams out there. What if LeBron stuck to his guns and wanted to make in the $40 to $50 million range like he did last season? Well, the market for LeBron would be much, much smaller.
0.0.
And see, that's the thing, right? And then that's to my point, that is one thing that LeBron James could have controlled. Like I said, if LeBron James had represented the game and gave the game what Kobe gave the game, and gave the game what Magic gave, and what Bird gave, then he would have been rewarded. Now, even if teams wanted to lowball LeBron James, he still would have that leverage, that fan base in his back pocket to fall back on. But he didn't do that. He cheated himself and he cheated the game. And so when you cheat the game like that, you don't have that leverage, that fan base, that leverage where as though you can move you can move merchandise. So if somebody wanted to come and they wanted LeBron James to pitch their product, or they wanted LeBron James to pitch their service, LeBron James don't really move the needle like that. He's in the NBA now, and he's still not really selling tennis shoes or sneakers the way that Mike and Kobe did like when they had their sneakers and stuff. LeBron James don't move units like that. And so just imagine, like, the further LeBron James get away from the game as far as like retirement, he won't be able to, and so he won't be able to have that kind of leverage going into a boardroom and he say, well, man, that my fan base is pretty extensive. And so they'll tell LeBron James, like, look, you didn't sell, that much while you were playing. So now you're 2, 3, 5 years away from the NBA. Is and Magic Johnson, look at Magic Johnson, like, everybody, they throw Magic Johnson name on everything as far as the Dodgers. He connected to the Dodgers, and he's always connected to the Lakers. Because Magic is beloved, right? Whereas though LeBron James is more so he's more polarizing. And that's not that polarizing people really don't really translate into a large, the sales. It's just not the same when you think about sales, right? So that's why LeBron James, I think, is going to, he's really going to be hurting after retirement. So that's my take on it. It's not always good to get all your money up front. Like, if he could have got his money up front and really focused on his fan base, then he'd have won, hands down. But for him to be worth right now like $1.5 billion, and he don't have a fan base, his fan base is not, he can't really tap into it like what Mike and Magic and Bird don't can tap into it. It's just, it wasn't great forethought on whoever is helping LeBron James and who tried to manage him, man. It just wasn't a lot of forethought. So that's my take. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, man, I'm going to check y'all out in the next video. Peace.